Don't you dare ask us to cancel our plans again. We've had these Elton John tickets for months." My mother yelled, her voice echoing through my hospital room. I sat there stunned, clutching my phone with trembling hands. It was Christmas Eve at UCLA Medical Center. Just me, my 2-year-old twins, Liam and Ava, playing quietly in the corner, and a medical assistant named Sophia checking my vitals. The pain in my abdomen was excruciating, like someone was twisting a knife inside me, but the look of indifference on my mother's face through the video call hurt even more. My name is Megan Brooks. I'm 33 years old, and for as long as I can remember, I've been the afterthought in my own family, my younger sister Ashley. The golden child could do no wrong in my parents' eyes. Meanwhile, I couldn't even get them to watch their only grandchildren while I underwent emergency surgery for complications related to my husband's death. 6 months ago, the doctors had found internal bleeding that required immediate attention, but all my parents cared about was their concert tickets and celebrating Christmas Eve with Ashley when I finally asked for their help. After exhausting all other options, my dad's response cut deeper than any surgical tool could. "You're becoming a real nuisance and burden. Natasha, we're retired now. Now we deserve to enjoy our lives without your constant problems. I've been supporting my parents financially since they took early retirement, 3 years ago, every month. Without fail, I sent them $2,500 to help with their mortgage and expenses. Even after James died, I did it out of love and duty, believing family should support each other. How foolish I was," as my tears fell silently onto the hospital blanket. Sophia gently squeezed my shoulder, the comforting presence of Olivia, who walked in with an air of calm. The scent of rain lingered in the air, mingling with the antiseptic aroma of the hospital. "I'm here for you, Megan," she said, her voice like a soothing balm. In that moment, something clicked. My heart, heavy with disappointment, found a flicker of hope. How had I come to this point? I was fighting for my life while my family was busy chasing after their elusive happiness. Was I truly that invisible? As Olivia sat beside me, her kind eyes brimming with empathy, I felt a shift. For the first time, I was more than just a burden. I was a mother fighting for her children, a woman ready to reclaim her worth. But the memories clawed at me. Those long days and nights spent in the shadows while Ashley basked in the limelight. When Ashley won that award for her commercial, I spent days crafting my speech for graduation, only for it to blend into the backdrop of family indifference. "You'll never compare," James used to remind me. And yet, here I was, hoping my tears didn't drown out my resolve. As the rain began to patter softly against the window, a metaphor of cleansing washed over me. I still carried the weight of grief, but now also a new kind of strength. Would my parents finally see me? Would they comprehend the sacrifices I made, the love that shattered but still longed to be whole? My heart raced as I envisioned walking out of this hospital, no longer constrained by their perceptions, but fueled by my newfound clarity. Olivia placed her hand over mine. "You deserve better, Megan," she said, and those 5 simple words pierced through the fog enveloping me. Yes, I needed to tell my parents the truth, to make them face the hurt they'd inflicted. They were about to witness a different Megan, one who would no longer be silenced by their expectations. The air felt heavy with unspoken truths as I hung up the phone, but in that stark silence, a dawning realization swept over me. Those who once defined my worth were about to see me step into the light for the first time. This was more than survival. It was a reclamation. I would no longer be the shadow in my family's story. I was ready to thrive, to love fiercely, and to be seen. The sterile scent of antiseptic filled the air, blending with the distant beeping of machines. Megan's heart raced as she remembered the warmth of her childhood home. Laughter echoed, love wrapped around her like a soft blanket. But now, that same blanket felt like a heavy weight, pressing down on her. She recalled her mother's eyes sparkling with pride every time Ashley accomplished something remarkable. Those moments cast a shadow over her own achievements, the disappointment in her parents' eyes a stark contrast to the glowing joy they showed Ashley. Each memory ignited a flicker of determination within Megan, a desperate need to reclaim her worth amidst the chaos. Could she finally break free from feeling invisible? The rain began to patter softly against the window, as if the universe was cleansing her past. Suddenly, she felt the momentum shift. Instead of being just a burden, she was a mother fighting for her children, a woman on a journey to reclaim herself. As Olivia settled in beside her, Megan felt a sense of calm wash over her. Olivia's kind eyes were full of empathy, reminding Megan that she wasn't alone. "You deserve better, Megan," she said, a lifeline in a sea of doubt. Those 5 simple words pierced through the fog engulfing her, sparking a fire of self-assertion. "Could you bring me my phone?" Megan asked Sophia, her hand shaking. As she typed 2 messages, her fingers trembled with conviction. The first to her bank, canceling all transfers to her parents. The second was clear. "I will no longer be providing financial support. My children and I deserve better than being your afterthoughts. Don't contact me again." As they wheeled her toward the operating room, Megan felt something unexpected. Freedom. The surgery was a success but left her weaker than anticipated. 5 long days in the hospital blurred together, filled with gratitude for Olivia. She had taken care of the twins during the day and even spent nights in Megan's apartment so they could feel their mother nearby. But amidst her recovery, something dark lurked. During one of her more lucid moments, she glanced at her phone, blinking with notifications. 27 missed calls and countless messages. Her heart sank. Would they finally understand her struggle? Would they finally see her? Megan took a deep breath, letting the anticipation swell inside her. As painful memories resurfaced, she stood at the cusp of change. The world outside her hospital room was moving on, and it was time for her to step into the light. Could her family handle seeing her step beyond the shadow they'd cast? She was ready to thrive, to love fiercely, to be seen for who she truly was. This was just the beginning of her journey into rediscovering herself. Megan Brooks flipped through the waves of her phone, drowning in a sea of messages. Anxiety gripped her heart. The usual script played out like a broken record. Confusion, anger, desperate pleas for cash. Not once did her family check in on her surgery or ask about the twins. The final message from her dad stung like a slap. "You can't just cut us off. We have a cruise planned, and the tickets are non-refundable." Ashley's texts hit differently. Confusion echoed through her words. "Mom and Dad said you were having some minor procedure. What's going on? Why are they so frantic about money?" A light bulb flickered in Megan's mind. Just like that, she realized her parents had twisted the truth to manipulate Ashley, all to justify their awful choice to prioritize a concert over their grandchildren. With a pounding heart, Megan decided it was time to lay her cards on the table. Despite the meds, she crafted a message, a full scoop of her reality. Ashley replied faster than she anticipated. "Oh my God, Megan, I had no idea. I thought it was a routine checkup. I would have watched the twins if I had known." Simplicity painted the weight of their world. Ashley wasn't mean. She was raised to put her needs first. That revelation might just open her eyes to the manipulation at play. Days later, the hospital released Megan, but she had new gaps to fill in her life. First, she hired Olivia part-time to care for the twins while she recovered. Next, she contacted a lawyer to draft a will, naming a trustworthy friend as their guardian if something were to happen. Megan's heart raced. She would never let her children end up with her parents. Finally, she went bold, blocking her parents' numbers and only keeping limited contact with Ashley, assessing her sincerity. Financial freedom flickered to life. Cutting her parents off meant losing a draining $2,500 monthly payment, nearly a third of her graphic designer salary. Without that weight, she could finally think about proper childcare. Maybe even start to rebuild the emergency fund that had crumbled after James's death. That night, as she lay in her own bed, listening to the quiet rhythm of the twins' breathing, a soft rain pattered against the window, an echo of renewal. This was her moment. Her family might soon face the fallout and see her step into the light, away from the shadow they cast. Would they be ready for her to thrive? In their room across the hall, a whirlwind of emotions churned within me. Guilt crept in, whispering that putting myself and my kids first was somehow wrong. Then there was fear. How would I manage recovery with 2 toddlers tugging at my attention? Yet, amid the chaos, a new sense of self-respect began to push through. Suddenly, my phone pinged. It was a text from Ashley. "I just had a huge fight with Mom and Dad about how they treated you. I'm at a hotel tonight. Can we talk tomorrow?" A flicker of hope ignited in me. Maybe I wasn't as alone as I felt. Fast forward 2 weeks after my surgery, I was starting to regain my strength. The incision still throbbed if I moved too quickly, but I felt lighter. Olivia had been a lifesaver, showing up every morning to assist with the twins while I managed my graphic design work from home. To my surprise, my clients were understanding about my limited availability. It felt good to stay close to my children again. Ashley visited a couple of times, bringing healthy meals and spending time with the twins. Our initially cautious conversations morphed into something deeper. One evening, as we watched the twins play, she opened up. "They always made it seem like you were choosing to distance yourself from the family," she admitted. "I never realized they were pushing you away." Here sat my sister, revealing a side I had long missed, hidden beneath our parents' manipulation. While I wasn't fully ready to trust her, I appreciated her efforts. Then came the knock at the door, which felt like a storm rolling in. I had been half expecting it. Through the peephole, I spotted my parents. My mother clutched her designer purse nervously, and my father's arms were crossed, a familiar impatient stance etched on his face. My heart raced as I hesitated, but I finally opened the door just enough to speak through the gap. "What do you want?" I asked, my voice steadier than I expected. "Natasha, darling, we've been so worried," my mother began, her tone dripping with a concern that felt rehearsed. Was it real, or part of the same old act? Would they finally understand the chaos they created? Would they accept the new me, one willing to step into the light and away from their shadow? The air buzzed with tension, heavy with unspoken truths, as I braced myself for the conversation ahead. I stood. The tension in the room was palpable as Megan stood behind the closed door. Her heart raced, matching the muffled arguments of her family just outside. Each word was a reminder of the love she longed for but felt forever out of reach. The scent of rain drifted through the air, mixing with her unresolved emotions. What if, just what if, this was the moment she found her voice? Would she face her fears, or would she drift back into silence yet again? The question hung there, heavy and unresolved. As the storm of voices swirled outside, her sister Ashley stepped forward, all polished smiles and golden accolades. "You can't just shut us out, Megan," she said, a hint of desperation creeping into her tone. Ashley was the favored one, living life as the family's shining star while Megan felt like a shadow, lost in their expectations. A bitter taste settled on Megan's tongue. She could almost hear the unspoken words, "Prove yourself, or you don't belong here." And then the unexpected knock arrived, hitting like a thunderclap. It was Aunt Patty, playing the family peacemaker. "Megan, darling," she pleaded from the other side, "it's time to be reasonable." The air thickened with the weight of their demands. Megan's resolve strengthened. She was not their backup plan. "Let's get this straight," she responded, her voice cool and steady. "They chose early retirement knowing their finances would be an issue. That's not on me." "Your parents are struggling," Aunt Patty countered. "I don't owe my support forever," Megan shot back. "This isn't a contract. I'm dealing with a major recovery and 2 toddlers right now. I need this conversation to end." But their pleas continued, words like arrows piercing through the walls she'd built. Moments later, as the silence fell heavy, Megan received an email from her father that read like an execution order. It accused her of abandoning her family at their most desperate time, throwing guilt like a lifeline to drag her back in. Tears stung her eyes as she closed her laptop. How did it come to this? Megan's pulse quickened again, each thought swirling like the approaching storm outside. The winds of change were howling. Could she finally step into her truth? Or would she retreat once more into the shadows? The stakes were higher than ever, with her heart dangling on the edge. Megan's heart raced as she read the email. Her hands trembled, words blurring as the pain in her chest flared up again. She had expected it. The accusations, the guilt, the betrayal. But what she hadn't expected was the twist. As the emails flooded in, the truth slowly began to piece itself together, turning her anger into something new, something unexpected. Her cousin Michael, living nearby, had already replied to the thread, sharp as ever. "Uncle Robert, didn't you just buy a new boat last month? And Aunt Diana, wasn't that diamond tennis bracelet you showed off at Thanksgiving brand new?" The others chimed in, some privately messaging Megan, asking for the full story. Even Aunt Patty, the family peacemaker, reached out directly. "I had no idea about your surgery," she admitted, stunned. "They told me you were being dramatic about some routine procedure." But then came the most surprising ally of all. Ashley, Megan's older sister, the golden child, had always been the family's star. But now, she was fully on Megan's side. Together, they crafted the perfect response to the family email. "I recently underwent emergency surgery, with significant risks involved. My parents refused to care for my children during this time because they had concert tickets. I'm focusing on my recovery and caring for my twins without any added stress." The response ignited something in the family. What followed was overwhelming support. Michael's wife dropped off home-cooked meals. A second cousin, someone Megan barely knew, offered to babysit for free. Even Sophia, a medical assistant at the hospital, connected Megan with a support group for young widowed parents. The group's first meeting was via Zoom, so Megan could attend from home. For the first time since James died, Megan felt understood by people who had walked her path. Meanwhile, her parents' financial situation continued to spiral. Their struggles, once hidden behind facades of luxury, became undeniable. But Megan? She finally saw a flicker of hope. This pain, this betrayal, it had sparked a shift. And now, she was no longer just the ungrateful daughter. She was reclaiming her voice. In the silence that followed, Megan's pulse steadied. For the first time in a long time, she felt like she could breathe. The scent of fresh-cut grass wafted through the air as Megan Brooks reminisced about carefree summers by the lake, laughter ringing out like sweet music. But now, betrayal cast a heavy shadow, a cloak of sorrow she couldn't shake off. Remember that day her parents showed off a brand new boat? It felt like a dagger twisting in her heart. As the soft waves whispered against the shore, Ashley, her older sister, delivered gut-wrenching news, her voice tinged with disbelief. "They've been living beyond their means," she revealed. The memories clashed with the present, where all Megan could feel was the piercing weight of rejection. Her parents more invested in their lavish purchases than her struggles. But that ache transformed into a quiet fire inside her. This wasn't the end. It was the beginning of reclaiming her story. She could hear those desperate voicemails and texts, each one a reminder of their crumbling world. Ashley, still trying to hold on to her golden child title, reached out, her voice carrying both concern and frustration. Megan, They're in panic mode. The bank is threatening foreclosure. What happened to their retirement funds? Megan bounced Ava on her knee while Liam napped, and the weight of intrigue deepened. Everything is spent. On that boat, Ashley sighed. I thought you should know. That evening, a string of frantic texts from her parents landed, dropping all pretenses of love. We never thought you'd actually cut us off, her mom's message read, raw with desperation. We assumed you were just angry. Megan's blood boiled. Did they really think her boundaries were just temporary? All those years of feeling invisible and unvalued surged back. The facade was cracking, and she could either fall or rise anew from their betrayal. Would she stay shackled to their expectations, or could this be the moment she finally broke free? In the silence, a sense of purpose began to take root. She was done being the ungrateful daughter. With newfound strength flickering in her heart, Megan steadied her breath. For the first time in what felt like ages, the weight of her pain transformed into a flicker of hope. She wouldn't be held captive by their choices any longer. This was her time to claim her voice. Megan stared at her parents, the air thick with tension. How had they come to this? Once, their approval felt like the world's warmest embrace. Now, their desperation chilled her to the bone. Just this morning, the scent of fresh paint lingered in the air, a reminder of her recently transformed apartment, a space full of hope and memories. But with every uneasy look, their reality pressed down on her like a weight she could barely lift. Do you really think I owe you anything? The words slipped from her lips, heavy with years of frustration. Her father's confident facade cracked, revealing a man bathed in fear. We need $144,000 to catch up on the mortgage, he said, desperation lacing his usual authority. The stark contrast of her growing independence against their crumbling world was a bitter pill to swallow. As she gestured for them to sit, she recalled her support group, the lifeline she'd grasped tightly. Diana, with her own heartache, had opened Megan's eyes to possibilities she couldn't have imagined, like selling her tiny apartment. Suddenly, visions of a better life danced in her head. Could she take that leap? The fiery whispers of empowerment battled against the cold reality of her parents' needs. What about selling the boat? She asked delicately, her fingers tapping the table, a nervous habit. The silence that followed screamed louder than any answer could. Her father bristled. We take a loss. It felt surreal, the way he clung to those luxuries as if they were life itself. You can't afford those luxuries, she blurted, incredulous. Their lives were unraveling, and yet they still tethered themselves to past choices like a lifebuoy in a storm. But she wasn't sinking with them. Each word she spoke became a stepping stone, pushing her toward the clarity she hadn't known she needed. This wasn't just about their financial collapse. It was about breaking free from an anchor that had weighed her down for far too long. Is that what this is? She pressed, feeling the strength building inside. An expectation for me to bail you out? In that moment, the reality of her choices enveloped her. Megan sat tall, brimming with resolve. I'm done being the ungrateful daughter, she declared, her voice steady. This is my time. I have my own dreams now. Silence filled the room, stretching long and taut. For the first time, she realized her vulnerability didn't diminish her strength. It amplified it. Would her parents finally see her, or would this new voice only deepen the rift? Whatever the outcome, she felt the flicker of hope within her, a warmth against the chill of her parents' expectations. As they exchanged glances, Megan knew she was ready to reclaim her story. The journey ahead wouldn't be easy, but she wouldn't face it alone. She had herself, and that was enough. What exactly have you done for me? I asked quietly, the question hanging in the air like a challenge. The twins chose that moment to toddle into the room, Liam clutching his favorite truck and Ava babbling happily, my parents. Expressions softened instantly. There are our precious babies. My mother's CED reaching for Ava, who promptly hid behind my legs. They don't know you, I stated simply. You've seen them. What 3 times in their lives you chose not to be involved? That's not fair. My father protested. We're busy. People too. Busy for your only grandchildren. Too busy to help your daughter through emergency surgery, but not too busy to ask for money. I observed. I think that says everything about your priorities. My mother's face crumpled, whether from genuine emotion or calculated manipulation. I couldn't tell anymore. Without your help, we'll lose everything. She whispered, I lost my husband. I replied my voice. Steady, my children. Lost their father. We survived. You'll survive too. 3 months after my surgery, my parents faced the inevitable. They were forced to sell their house to avoid foreclosure. Ashley kept me updated on their situation. Though I maintained my distance, they had managed to find a modest condo significantly downsizing from their 4,000 FT lakefront property. My father had reluctantly sold his boat at a loss, and they had finally unloaded the timeshare for a fraction of what they'd paid. They're actually blaming you for their financial problems in front of everyone. Ashley informed me during one of her weekly visits. It's bizarre to watch they tell anyone who listened that you abandoned them after promising lifelong support. Let them talk, I replied, feeling surprisingly unbothered. The truth speaks for itself, and it did. My extended family had largely rallied. In the heart of laughter and the sweet scent of casserole filling the air, I felt an unsettling knot settle in my stomach. Memories tangled with the present, creating a bittersweet tapestry of emotions. Would my parents ever acknowledge my journey? My phone buzzed, shattering the moment with a jarring urgency. We need to talk. Urgent. My heart raced. Had they finally realized the impact of their neglect? Or was it something worse? I braced myself for what lay ahead. Despite the distance I'd created, the echo of their choices haunted me. It was 6 months since my surgery, a period that had transformed my life. I had lost not just my husband, but the hold my parents had on my sense of worth. Each day, I forged ahead, hand in hand with new beginnings. The twins were thriving in our little home, vibrant and filled with laughter. They had a backyard to explore, a luxury they had never known before. It was a sanctuary of sorts, where the whispers of the wind danced with their playful giggles. Ashley, once my rival, now shared my joys and burdens. She visited often, her updates about my parents wrapped in a careful blend of sympathy and concern. They're blaming you for everything, she remarked one day. It struck a chord, but I couldn't let their narrative bind me. I felt an unexpected strength. After all they'd taken from me, their words were nothing more than echoes, fading in the wake of my new life. Then came that letter, a tangible artifact from a past I thought I'd buried. My hand trembled as I opened it, revealing the words I never thought I'd see. An actual apology from my mother. I was jealous of your independence, she wrote, baring her soul in ways I had longed for but never received. Her admission rang true, resonating like a distant storm finally breaking. All this time, had love been obscured by their need for control? I felt a wave of emotions crash over me. Relief, disbelief, a cautious hope. Was this their way of finally accepting me? As I processed each line, a thought lingered. Could real transformation come from this acknowledgement? Would it lead to the acceptance I had so desperately sought? The warmth of new relationships filled the gaps in my heart, yet the past still clung to me like a shadow. I realized that life could be rewoven, strand by thread, if I dared to embrace the unknown. But what would this newfound acceptance mean for my family dynamics? Questions swirled like leaves in the wind, inviting me to delve deeper, sparking the desire to confront the truth once and for all. As I reached the end of the letter, I understood that we were all on a path of healing. Yet the most profound change would come from within me. Would I find the courage to extend forgiveness? Or would the echoes of the past continue to reshape my future? I took a deep breath, preparing for the conversation that loomed before me, knowing that whatever unfolded would forever alter the course of our family's story. As Megan Brooks sifted through the old family photos, the air thickened with nostalgia and unspoken words. Each smile seemed to mock her pain, a haunting reminder of the love she craved yet never received. The shadows in the corners whispered secrets of the past, and her heart raced with uncertainty. Was this a moment of genuine change, or just another cruel illusion? The question hung in the air, heavy with tension, as she clutched the letter tightly, her mind racing with doubt. What if this time, everything truly was different? Megan had been living a modest life, working at a local hardware store after her family had sold most of their luxury items. They were finally experiencing life without the trappings of wealth. Yet she didn't ask for money or even forgiveness, just acknowledgement of her mother's apology. When she showed the letter to Ashley, her sister, skepticism clouded Ashley's eyes. "They've been talking about writing to you for weeks." Dad was against it at first, but I think he's starting to see things differently, especially after his heart scare last month. "Heart scare?" Megan asked, concern creeping into her voice. "Just high blood pressure and chest pains." But it scared him. "He's on medication now and actually following the doctor's orders," Ashley explained. "I think facing mortality has humbled him a bit." Megan wasn't ready to respond to the letter immediately. She needed time to process her feelings. Was this genuine remorse or another manipulation tactic? Had they truly changed, or were they simply adapting their strategy? That night, she looked at old family photos for the first time since cutting ties. Behind the smiling faces, she saw patterns she had been blind to before. Her parents had always been performers, playing the role of perfect parents while serving their own needs first. A year after her surgery, she finally agreed to meet her parents at a neutral location, a quiet cafe near her new home. When they arrived, she barely recognized them. Her father seemed smaller, his confident posture replaced by a humbler demeanor. Her mother's designer clothes had been exchanged for simple, practical attire. The twins were with Ashley for the afternoon. Megan wasn't ready for a family reunion just yet. They sat in awkward silence until her father did something unprecedented. He cried. "I've been a terrible father," he admitted, his voice breaking, "and an even worse grandfather. I don't expect your forgiveness, but I want you to know that I see it now. How selfish we've been." Her mother reached across the table, not quite touching Megan's hand but gesturing toward it. "We've spent months in family therapy," she explained. "It was Ashley's idea, and we resisted at first, but it's—" The words hung in the air, a fragile bridge between past and present. Would this be the moment of healing Megan had longed for, or would the echoes of the past continue to shape her future? As she looked into their eyes, she felt a flicker of hope. But could she truly embrace this change? The answer lingered, waiting to unfold. In a dimly lit cafe, Megan Brooks sat across from her parents, the shadows dancing like ghosts of their past. The air was thick with a blend of coffee and tension. Could this really be the moment they changed? Her heart raced as memories intermingled with the scent of freshly brewed coffee. This wasn't just another conversation. It could redefine them all. They listened without interrupting, like perhaps for the first time ever, she recalled softly. In that silence, Megan found unexpected strength. As they wrapped up, her father's voice broke through the weight of unspoken words. "Could we know our grandchildren someday?" he asked, his eyes filled with uncertainty. The question hung in the air, fragile yet daring. Megan took a deep breath. "That depends on your actions, not your words," she said, each word a step toward her reclaimed power. "If you're genuinely committed to change, we can start with short, supervised visits. But know this, My children will only be around people who respect their mother. Walking away, she felt liberated, not burdened. Gone was the desperate daughter. She emerged as a protective mother, fierce in her convictions. Would her parents truly change? Only time would reveal their sincerity.